Where in the world are you watching from? Drop your country in the comments. Before we dive into this heartwarming story, hit subscribe so you'll never miss the most courageous dog tales we share every day. Today, we journey to a place where secrets slumber, and a loyal Labrador named Hunter changed everything. Have you ever felt a whisper from the past? A chilling secret just beyond your grasp? What if the truth, long buried, waited for decades to be unearthed by the most unexpected hero? Imagine a house that breathes secrets. A grand, old manor, tucked away in the heart of Juniper Creek, Georgia, where the whispers of the past still echo in the quiet halls. This was Blackwood Manor, a place steeped in history, but also shrouded in a profound silence, a silence that felt like a hidden betrayal. For generations it stood, a silent monument to forgotten tales. This formidable house found new heirs in the Davis family. They were not accustomed to inherited grandeur, having built their lives brick by painstaking brick, overcoming every hurdle with resilient spirit. For them, this inheritance was not just property, but a heavy responsibility, a mysterious puzzle they felt compelled to solve. From their own hard-won experiences, the Davis family understood that appearances could be deceiving. They knew that trust, once shattered, leaves lasting scars. So, before opening Blackwood Manor's dust-laden doors for a public estate sale, they insisted on a thorough, meticulous sweep, not just for forgotten valuables, but for anything hidden, anything that might speak of the past. This critical task brought Officer David Ramirez to the manor. David was more than just a badge. He was a man deeply rooted in the community, understanding the unspoken burdens people carried, the hidden pain that sometimes lingered for generations. By his side was Hunter, a magnificent, impeccably trained Labrador canine, a true force of nature. Hunter wasn't merely a police dog, he was a living, breathing beacon of truth, his very name a testament to his unwavering dedication to justice. Hunter had a legendary past of unearthing secrets, his keen nose leading to countless breakthroughs in human remains detection. He once located a missing child in a dense forest by a single faint scent, a feat that solidified his unique reputation within the force. As they moved methodically through the manor, room by room, the air grew heavy with the scent of age and forgotten memories. David expected nothing more than the musty odor of ancient furniture, but then, in the cavernous master's study, Hunter suddenly froze. His ears perked, his powerful body stiffened, and then he let out a series of sharp, insistent barks. The room, filled with antique books and furniture draped in white sheets, held no visible threat. Yet Hunter wouldn't stop. He planted himself firmly in front of an old built-in bookshelf, growling with an unsettling intensity, his gaze locked as if it concealed something alive. This was no ordinary bark. This was Hunter, signaling a truth that had been buried for far too long. A desperate message from the past, demanding to be heard. David knelt beside Hunter, placing a firm, reassuring hand on his back. "What is it, boy?" he whispered, his brow furrowed with concern. But Hunter remained unyielding. His muscles were tense, his eyes fixed on the aged bookshelf. Then he began to paw frantically at the bottom shelf, his claws scratching against the wood, sending an antique book tumbling to the dusty floor. Footsteps rushed in as two other officers and Ms. Eleanor Vance, the longtime estate manager, hurried into the study. Ms. Vance, with generations of family history tied to Juniper Creek, looked bewildered. "That bookshelf has been there forever," she insisted, her voice tinged with dismissiveness. "There's nothing behind it but wall." Her words carried the weight of decades of unchallenged assumptions, a common human pitfall. How often in our own lives do we dismiss those subtle warnings, those persistent nudges, simply because they don't align with what we already believe? We cling to the comfortable narratives, even when a deeper intuition, or in this case, a determined Labrador, tries to guide us towards an unsettling truth. Such skepticism can keep us trapped in cycles of misinformation, delaying clarity and hindering progress. But Hunter was not swayed by human doubt. He lunged again, his barks escalating, his conviction unwavering. David glanced at his team, his voice firm with a quiet authority. "This isn't just behavior, he's alerting hard." David knew Hunter. This wasn't a false alarm. Hunter had been trained to detect the faintest traces, and he had never, not once, been wrong. Curiosity began to morph into palpable tension. One of the officers stepped forward, running his hand along the edge of the shelf. It didn't sit flush with the wall. Something felt off. Then, he noticed them. Faint, yet distinct, scratch marks on the floorboards beneath the shelf, indicating it had been moved, and not recently but perhaps long ago. They began to push the heavy bookshelf. It groaned, then slowly, begrudgingly, shifted. Behind it they found not solid wall but a thin, recessed wooden panel. It sounded hollow when tapped. An officer produced a pocket knife, sliding it into a thin seam. With a soft, almost imperceptible pop, the panel gave way, revealing a small, dark compartment. Inside, nestled amidst layers of dust and cobwebs, lay a rusted metal box. The air that rushed out carried a strange, stale odor, faint yet unforgettable, a smell that spoke of time and of secrets long held captive. They carefully extracted the rusted box and placed it on a nearby desk. Its latch, though intact, was brittle with age. With a soft snap, it finally gave way. Inside, nestled among aged, sepia-toned photographs and delicate pieces of antique jewelry, lay a leather-bound journal, its pages yellowed and warped by the passage of time. Each item, though silent, seemed to whisper of a life, a story, long buried. The air in the study, already thick with anticipation, now crackled with the weight of unspoken questions. The room fell silent as David carefully turned to the final page of the brittle journal. The handwriting, though shaky with age, was chillingly legible, scrawled in black ink that had faded with the decades. At the top was a name, Celeste Beaumont, followed by a haunting date, October 22, 1974. The next line made everyone's breath catch, sending a cold shiver down their spines. No one will ever find her, not as long as this house stands. The officers exchanged stunned glances. Celeste Beaumont. The name resonated, a phantom echo in the collective memory of Juniper Creek. One of the younger officers, his face pale, stepped outside to radio the station. Moments later he returned, his voice hushed. Celeste Beaumont went missing 50 years ago. The case went cold, she was never found. This was more than just a discovery, it was a profound revelation. A cold case, an open wound in the community's heart suddenly ripped wide open. For half a century, questions had lingered, doubts had festered, and a family had lived in a limbo of uncertainty. This single finding promised not just answers, but perhaps the very first path to true healing. It highlighted a powerful truth. When an injustice persists, it casts a long, insidious shadow over an entire community, eroding trust and fostering a lingering sense of unease that only truth can dispel. The journal meticulously detailed a tumultuous, volatile relationship between Celeste and Arthur Hayes, her fiancé at the time of her disappearance. Arguments, threats, escalating jealousy, a tragic spiral that culminated on Celeste's final fateful night. The shouting escalated beyond control, she fell hard, and she didn't get back up. There was no mention of a burial site, only a chilling, self-condemning line that spoke volumes of his desperate act. I had to hide the truth where no one would think to look. Psychologically, why would someone meticulously confess in a journal, yet never come forward? It's a profound testament to the internal conflict that can torment a soul, the crushing burden of guilt battling fiercely with the primal instinct for self-preservation. This journal was a silent scream, a desperate desire for the truth to be known, yet meticulously locked away behind a carefully constructed facade of normalcy. A stark example of the deceptive masks people can wear. Then came the photographs. Among them, one image made everyone freeze. Celeste, vibrant and smiling, standing in front of the very fireplace in the study where they were now gathered. The same wallpaper, the same subtle lighting, even the same bookshelf in the background. It was a meticulously planned hiding spot. A cruel form of self-punishment. A constant, silent reminder of his horrific act. The stark contrast between the joyful image of Celeste and the grim reality of her fate, revealed in the very same room, was a gut-wrenching moment. It was clear, the box had been locked away for decades, but now, thanks to Hunter's unerring instincts, the truth had finally clawed its way back to the surface. Detectives wasted no time. The name from the journal, Arthur Hayes, matched the mansion's original owner, Celeste's fiancé at the time of her disappearance. Now 86 years old, he was living a quiet, seemingly unremarkable life in a private care facility 2 towns over. Described by staff as polite and reclusive, it was jarring to reconcile this outwardly benign figure with the dark revelations of the journal. It serves as a stark reminder that even the most heinous acts can be cloaked in a facade of normalcy, allowing perpetrators to live seemingly quiet lives, while their victims remain unheard and unmourned. When detectives arrived, they found him seated by a window, staring out at nothing. At first Arthur denied any knowledge of Celeste's disappearance. "She left me," he muttered, his voice thin with age, avoiding eye contact. But when the worn journal and Celeste's smiling photograph were gently placed before him, his hands began to tremble uncontrollably, his face turned a sickly pale. He closed his eyes. "She wouldn't stop screaming," he whispered, a phantom echo of that dreadful night. "I lost control. I didn't mean to." He confessed that after Celeste died, he panicked. Overwhelmed by fear, he couldn't go to the police. Instead, he made a horrific choice. He buried her in the basement, beneath a freshly poured slab of concrete, before the home was renovated and sold. The journal and precious keepsakes were hidden behind the wall for safekeeping. A morbid, self-inflicted penance, a permanent, silent reminder of his unspeakable act. The officers exchanged profound glances. A powerful realization washed over David. Hunter hadn't just barked at the box or the wall. He had been alerting to something far deeper, something beneath the very concrete floor where they now stood. Even after 5 decades, through layers of time, earth, and concrete, Hunter's unerring nose had picked up the lingering, almost imperceptible trace of scents of human remains. This was the truly extraordinary ability of Hunter, a profound testament to his relentless dedication to truth. His instincts had pierced through half a century of silence. A search warrant was immediately filed. The very next day, the dark, mildew-ridden basement of Blackwood Manor became the scene of a solemn excavation. Forensics teams carefully marked the exact spot Arthur had described, a forgotten corner, once obscured by old storage shelves. Hunter stood at the edge, his body rigid, his nose twitching with a focused intensity. As the crew began chipping at the concrete, the air filled with the dust of ages. Then, a profound sound, a hollow thud beneath their feet. Hunter let out a single, low, sharp, and absolutely certain bark. Hours passed with painstaking care. The dig was slow, methodical. Then, beneath the final layer of concrete and earth, a shallow cavity appeared. A gloved hand carefully pulled back a section of brittle fabric, and there they were. Bones. A skull. Delicate pieces of jewelry still resting around a fragile neck. Dental records would later confirm the heartbreaking truth. It was Celeste Beaumont. The cold case, a mystery that had haunted generations of Juniper Creek, was finally, irrevocably closed. The news of Celeste Beaumont's discovery sent ripples of shock and relief throughout Juniper Creek. The girl who vanished 50 years ago was finally found. Arthur Hayes was formally charged with murder. However, the aging man, already frail from a lifetime of secrets, passed away in his sleep just weeks later, never speaking Celeste's name again. Yet, justice had been served, not just in a court of law, but in the heart of a community that finally had answers, a sense of closure that had been denied for far too long. Hunter stood quietly during the final sweep, his tail still, his gaze steady. He was a humble hero, his actions speaking volumes louder than any words. He had done more than simply detect a scent. He had given voice to someone long forgotten, buried by silence, and finally brought back into the light. His work was a quiet, unwavering act of compassion, a testament to his silent strength and enduring spirit. This profound story, the tale of Celeste, Arthur, and the extraordinary Hunter, carries deep lessons for us all. It reminds us of the incredible power of perseverance. Even after half a century, when all hope seemed lost, the truth found its way to the surface. For anyone who has faced prolonged struggles, endured injustice, or felt their voice silenced, remember that time, though a relentless current, cannot always bury the truth forever. It also highlights the unsung heroes in our lives, the silent sentinels who guide us towards what is right, often when we least expect it. Sometimes these are dedicated individuals who never give up. Sometimes it's our own inner voice, a gut feeling that screams against the noise of doubt and deception. And sometimes, as in Hunter's remarkable case, it's the pure, untainted intuition of an animal, a living embodiment of unwavering truth and loyalty. The lesson here is simple, yet incredibly profound. Always listen to those quiet alerts, trust the subtle signs, and above all, never, ever let your truth be buried. For those of us who have felt weak, who have been deceived, who have suffered hurt, or who simply yearn to fight against life's adversities, remember Hunter. He shows us that even after decades, the truth has a way of clawing its way back to the surface. And sometimes it just takes one brave heart or 4 loyal paws to bring it into the glorious light. Your voice matters, your story matters, and your truth, no matter how deeply buried, can always be unearthed. If Hunter's unwavering loyalty and the power of truth touched your heart, please share this story. Hit that like button, subscribe to our channel for more true tales of courage and discovery, and let us know in the comments below. What's a hidden truth that changed your life? How have you seen justice prevailed in unexpected ways? maybe even with the help of an animal. Your stories inspire us all. Stay strong, stay true, and remember, the truth always finds a way.